ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ರಿಪೀಟ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇರಿ ಅದು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಡಿ, ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ. Very good afternoon, dear students. I think it is audible now for you, right? Since there was a technical issue, it was delayed. Okay. Let us discuss today about the very important act of labor legislation, that is Payment of Bonus Act of 1965. We all know what is bonus. Being an employee, if you are working, you might have been received bonus from your employer, and that bonus is a part of the work which is contributed by an employee to the employer, right? So here bonus will be paid by an employer to the worker or employee for working in an organization for number of days, for number of months in a organization or in a factory. So let us discuss that amount of the monetary benefit paid by the organization or will be payable by the organization to an employee, in what situation, in what circumstances it is necessary to make the payment of bonus. So this bonus of Payment of Bonus Act of 1965 is established in the year 1965 with the main intention of maintaining peace and harmony. Maintaining peace and harmony between labor and capital by allowing the employee to share the prosperity of an establishment. See, since the employee who are working for an organization, he works for the organization for some, I'm sorry, I think the Payment of Bonus Act was completed yesterday itself. I have done this. Okay. Sorry for that. This Payment of Bonus Act was been done yesterday only. I'll just brief gist of it now. This has to be paid by every organization when there is. Can you please tell me whether this Payment of Bonus Act is completed or not? Is it done? Sir, no? Okay, okay. It was been done. Okay. Let me change this. So this payment of bonus act was established to provide the right to the labor to get the share of the profit from the organization. To get a share of profit as a bonus, the act must have to be protect the employees in order to get this bonus. Every factory, every other establishment where there is a minimum of 20 or more person employed during an accounting period is eligible for getting the payment of bonus. So in the previous classes we have discussed with Trade Union Act, Industrial Disputes Act, and Payment of Wage Act. I think Payment of Wage Act was done. Industrial Dispute Act was done. Payment of Wage Act of 1936 was done. Then Minimum Wages Act of 1948. Minimum Wage Act of 1948 was also done, but not Payment of Bonus Act. Okay, this Payment of Bonus Act was not done. I'll just review the PPT. Just look at here. In the previous class, we have done with the labor legislation, then Trade Union Act of 1926, then we have gone even Industrial Dispute Act of 1947 also. Payment of Wage Act we have done, but not the Payment of Bonus Act. Wage is different from bonus. Wage is the regular amount of payment must have to be paid by paid by the employer, the responsible person, for the work done by an employee towards to the development of an organization. This is Payment of Wage Act, but not Bonus Act. Then this is a Minimum Wage Act. Minimum Wage Act is every organization, the government or the appropriate authority like government has fixed the minimum wages. This minimum wage was fixed by the government as on, I had given in statistics for this also yesterday, as on December 2021. The minimum wage was fixed as 178 per day, but it is projected that it may reach to 190 rupees per day by the end of 2022. So till this we have completed yesterday. Now even this time rate, piece rate, and over time rate was completed. In case if it is not compliant, the compliance was not fulfilled according to the Minimum Wage Act, the fine will be imposed. The punishment will be imposed. So now let us, the Payment of Wage Act was completed, but not the Payment of Bonus Act. Even I have been confused with that. That is the Payment of Wage Act, but not the Bonus Act. This is Payment of Bonus Act. Okay. This is Payment of Bonus Act of 1965, established with the intention of maintaining the peace, harmony, and the healthy environment between the employer and the employee. Why this bonus is to be paid? See, the employee is working for an organization, right? For some salary. He may also having some what selfishness that if he work there he will get a salary. If he contributes some work towards the organization, he may get incentive for extra work. If he work hardly, he may get promotion. That means there is a dual benefit, mutual benefit, right? So when the employee work hard, it ultimately benefits to whom? It ultimately benefits to the organization only. So here the organization must have to think of the employees being a human asset, human resource of an organization, are working for the development of the business, for the development of the industry, for the development of the factory, right? So it is the responsibility of every business organization, out of the profit on the utilization of capital. If the profit earned by an organization, out of the profit some amount of portion of the profit, a small portion of the profit, if it is distributed to an employee, definitely they feel very happy, right? Suppose if they are earning 10,000 per month as a salary, every month for 1 year, from past many years they are working. So for the 1 year what they have worked in the organization, for which if they have given extra monetary benefit for their work in terms of bonus, in the name of bonus, they feel very happy, right? Being an employee, we being an employee also, we feel happy for when we get monetary benefit, monetary remuneration from an organization for our work, when they appreciate us. So this is a kind of motivation. But there are some organization who do not share the part of the profit to an employee. They think that employee means employee only. They do not think that they are human resources. So in that situation, in order to protect the employees from that kind of exploitation or the attitude of the employer, this payment of bonus act came into existence. And this is applicable to whom? This is applicable to every factory, every other establishment in which 20 or more persons are employed on any day during the accounting year. During an accounting year, which is an accounting year? So we say financial year, academic year, calendar year. There are different years, right? Accounting year and the financial year is one and the same. So financial year starts from 1st of April and ends on 31st of March, right? Accounting year means also same as financial year, whereas academic year means starts from June till March, right? Then March in the sense 2 months of holidays for the students. Whereas in case of what calendar year, it starts from January and ends on December 31st. Like this, but during the accounting period, if there are more than 20 persons employed by any organizations or the factory or any establishment, must have or must pay bonus to their employees. Now let us discuss to whom it is applicable, to whom this minimum payment of bonus act is applicable, and which classes of employees are eligible to avail this bonus. Let us discuss that. This is applicable to, according to the section 32 of the Payment of Bonus Act, this is applicable to the employee except all this, except the list mentioned below, list provided for you. So here, this is applied to all, but not to these person listed. Here, the employees employed in LIC, they are not eligible to get bonus. These are the applicability, in the sense the Payment of Bonus Act saying it is applicable to all, but except this, means this, in the sense this Payment of Bonus Act is not applicable to these employees who are working in different organizations. Let us understand one by one. First one is employees employed in LIC. For them it is not applicable. Then seamen defined in the Merchant Shipping Act, the employees who are working in the shipment business, according to the Merchant Business Act, for them it is not applicable. And the employees registered under the Dock Workers Act of 1948, Regulation of Dock Workers Regulation of Employment Act of 1948, even for them also it is not applicable. Employees employed in an establishment under the authority of central or state government or local authority, for the government employees also this bonus is not applicable. Employees employed by Indian Red Cross Society, universities, educational institutions, hospital, chamber of commerce, and social welfare institution, for all these employees also this Payment of Bonus Act is not applicable. Employees employed by Reserve Bank of India, employees employed by Industrial Finance Corporation of India, Unit Trust of India, UTI, IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India, SFC, States Finance Corporation. Even for this kind of any institution, financial institutions also, this Payment of Bonus Act is not applicable. Next is employee employed by Inland Water Transport Corporation. Even inland, especially the water transport establishment employees also not eligible for availing this bonus. And to whom it is applicable, just look at here. It is applicable, or the employees who are eligible to get bonus according to the Payment of Bonus Act includes A temporary workman on the basis of total number of days worked by him. See, the temporary workmen, the temporary workers who are working in an organization, it can be calculated based on the total number of days he has worked in an accounting period, in an accounting year. Based on that, he may be given the bonus. Okay. So, but this temporary employee is eligible for claiming bonus. An employee of a seasonal factory is entitled to proportionate bonus and not the minimum bonus. Proportionate bonus, not like any minimum bonus. So their percentage of means yeah, for usually what the factory employer will do, they give, if the employee is earning 10,000 as a salary, he may be given either 10,000 as a bonus or 5,000 as a bonus. Based on his performance, it will be awarded. But here, for an employee who is working in a seasonal factory, is entitled to get a bonus based on the proportionate rate, not with the minimum rate. Not like minimum amount of fund is fixed, but it is based on proportionate basis, it will be provided. Seasonal factory means what? Seasonal factory, see, usually according to the factory act, every factory, or according to the company act, every business will be established with the intention of continuing for a longer period. But this here, the season factory will be established only for a particular event, only for the completion of a particular project. For them, this payment of bonus act for an employee who are working in the seasonal factory will be paid based on the proportionate. Next is a part-time employee, temporary employee, or the part-time employee as a sweeper or a sweeper engaged on a regular basis is entitled to, that is operational level or lower level employee, unskilled employee, the part-time employee is also eligible to get bonus. Retrenched employee, the employee who are already been removed from an organization, they have left an organization, then also he is eligible to claim bonus from the company if he has worked minimum qualified period. If he has worked minimum qualified period, then he'll be eligible for getting bonus. So let me tell you that also, what is the minimum qualifying period the employee should have to work in an organization to avail bonus, that I'll tell you in the next slide. Next, a probationer is an employee. Probationary, the employee who is working on a probationary basis. For him also, the bonus should also have to be given. Has to be given. Next, a dismissed employee reinstated with back wages. Definitely, dismissed employee or the suspended employee who is entitled for back wages. In order to the suspended employee, according to the act, if he has been suspended from an organization, he must be given some amount of contribution from the organization for certain period until the case cleared. If it is in the court, he must be given some amount for for living his day-to-day life. So for him, uh, for he is also entitled to get bonus. Then the piece rated worker, yesterday we discussed who is called what is called as a piece rate. When the employee is working on per unit basis, the employee is called as piece rated worker. For him also, this bonus is eligible. He can claim the amount of bonus. Next, eligibility. So when this bonus is eligible, every employee shall be entitled to bonus for an accounting period. If in case if he has worked not less than 30 days in an accounting year, means if he has worked for 1 month in an organization in an accounting period, also means 30 days, in a sense 1 month, 1 month. If he has worked for at least 1 month in an organization for period of 1 year, then he is eligible for availing bonus. Next, as per the payment of bonus Amendment Act of 2015, the eligibility limit for the payment of bonus has been enhanced from rupees 10,000 to rupees 21,000 per month. Means this as this payment of bonus act of 19 as per the payment of bonus act of 1965, the bonus minimum bonus was fixed as 10,000 rupees. But This was been amended in the year 2015, and this amount was extended to 21,000 now. Now let us discuss and move to the next act, Equal Remuneration Act. Equal Remuneration Act of 1976. What is this Equal Remuneration Act? You can directly say that the name of the act itself says equal remuneration for equal work. To whom? To both men and women. According to the Article 39 of the Constitution, says that every business organization, every factory, every industry, or the eligible person must have to pay equal wages to equal wages for equal work to men and women. There must not be any discrimination on the basis of sex, that is men and women, between men and women, for the payment of wages or for the payment of bonus. So this is very much necessary. Equal payment or equal remuneration to men and women workers must have to be fixed by any organization. If they are discriminated and if it is found by any authorities, then it will be considered as a punishable offense and they will be punished also. Now let us understand the payment of remuneration to the men and women workers provisions. So here it is the duty of every employer to consider men and women as equal and should have to be provided the same for the same work. The same remuneration must be fixed by the organization for the similar nature of work, and there must not be any kind of discrimination made for either for the payment or for the recruitment of men and women. So the number of women employed in an organization, the nature of work, the hours of work, the suitability of women for employment, so etc. must have to be mentioned in have to be recorded in an organization according to the act. So according to the Equal Remuneration Act, every business organization shall have to maintain a register stating how many men, how many women are working in an organization, what are the provision they according to the act they are providing for especially for the women workers, and the salary is fixed, the number of hours fixed, or the type of work allotted for the woman employee. So all these must have to be mentioned even in the employment agreement also. And it can be on part-time basis or full-time basis. The opportunity must be given for woman employee also. We know that now woman is nowhere lagging behind compared to the men. She's there in all the field, right? We all know that. Then there must not be any discrimination between women and men employee. Now there is an appropriate authority to receive a complaint and to settle that grievance relating to the discrimination between men and women employee, for which the government is having an appropriate authority. Government has appointed has to appoint an appropriate authority for hearing and deciding the claims or complaints from the women employees. So by notification, the organization must have to appoint an authority for hearing or deciding the complaints which has been received from the employees, for which the authority can be the labor officer based on the rank, based according to the act. The authority not below the rank of labor officer, it must be the higher level where more than the capacity is having the labor officer. He must have the appropriate authority. Next is complaints with regard to the contravention of any provision of this act. any complaint. What, why this provision established? This provision is established with the intention of mainly to prevent the discrimination from women and men employee, and also to protect the women employee by paying equal wages for equal kind of similar work uh, of in an organization, right? If any complaints received by the authority, appropriate authority, they must have to solve this appropriate authority is established in order to receive any complaint from the woman employee. And also the claims arising out of non-payment of wages at equal rate. So the pay, as this act is established with the intention of making equal payment of equal payment for equal work, if it is not paid by the organization, when there is a discrimination in the payment of wages, then they can give a complaint for an appropriate authority appointed by the government. And this appropriate government may appoint an inspector, an inspector for the purpose of investigating. So what to be investigated? For the purpose of investigating whether is there a facilities provided to the woman employee is same as the men employee, or when the woman employee and men employee is employed in an organization, whether is there any discrimination in terms of making the payment of wages or in terms of providing any facilities or welfare measures. So that is done by checked by an inspector, investigated by an inspector appointed by an appropriate authority. They may inspect time to time. If in case at the time of inspection or at the time of receiving the complaint, they go for inspecting whether the organization is having a problem of discrimination between both men and women or not. So in such a situation, if it is found the mistake from an organization, then they impose penalty and the fine. So after the commencement of this act, an employer makes any recruitment in contravention of the provisions of this act, or any employer makes any payment or remuneration at any unequal rate to men and women for the same kind of work or the similar kind of work, for any discrimination between men and women workers, and if any employer omits or fails to carry out the directions made by the appropriate authority. In all these situations, means one is at the time of recruitment, when there is a discrimination at the time of recruitment, when there is a discrimination at the time of making the payment of wages, when there is a discrimination in providing any other facilities between men and women, and also when the organization or the employer fails to follow the instructions given by an appropriate authority appointed by the government, then he will be punished. It is a punishable offense. How will be punished? It will be punished with not less than 10,000 rupees of fine. It may even extend to 20,000 rupees also, and with the imprisonment of not less than 3 months. And it may extend for the first, in the first offense, the imprisonment is for 1 year. If the same is continued even in the second instance, the imprisonment will be continued for 2 years for the second instance, and even for second or subsequent instance, if the same is continued, if he is not protecting the woman employee, if he is not following the equal remuneration act, then he will be punished with fine. And also, if any person omits or refuses to produce the documents required by the inspector, it can be a register maintained in the organization or any other relevant documents is not provided, produced, he will also be then the responsible person like employer or the management will also be punished with 5,000 rupees fine, 5,000 rupees of fine. So like this, this payment, equal remuneration act works. This Equal Remuneration Act established with the intention of mainly to eliminate the discrimination between men and women worker. Okay. Now, very very important and the big act of labor legislation is Factory Act of 1948. What this Factory Act of 1948 states? This Factory Act of 1948 was established with the main focus of health, safety, and welfare measures of the workers both inside and outside the factory, working hours, minimum age to work in an organization, leave with pay. So like this there are various provision. We are going to discuss that in detail here. So in order to get various benefit or to avail work from an employee, the organization being an employer or the management must have to facilitate them. They must have to provide various benefits. If they provide various benefit and maintain healthy condition, definitely they work hard for an organization. They feel that it is their own business, it is their own organization, and they also work hard for the development or achievement of organizational goals. So it is very necessary for an organization to have healthy environment, good environment, by providing the facilities uh, necessary for the workers. Okay. And this entire day-to-day activity takes place in the fact. What is this Factory Act called? Factory Act is nothing but Factory Act is established with the intention of focusing on the entire day-to-day activity taking place in the factory. Entire day-to-day activity which is taking place in the factory is governed by Factory Act of 1948, and this is extended to whole of India, including it is applicable to Jammu Kashmir also. This, we might have seen the Bhopal gas tragedy in the year 1984. In the year 1984, this has made the people to aware about the pollution and the hazards of that factory, and notice that there was very, since it was a very dangerous place where the employee were not been taken with so much of precautionary care. Therefore, according to this act, the government has made various amendments to facilitate for an employee to provide or to take necessary steps every time at every steps. Okay. So this is applicable to all the factories. This Factory Act is applicable to all kind of factories where where there are minimum of 10 employees, when they use power, when the organization or when the manufacturing industries use the power. This is not, organization means all kind of business comes, but here they define what is factory here under the Factory Act. Okay. Any kind of establishment or the factory where employed minimum of 10 persons, if it uses 10% or minimum 10 persons or more than 10 persons also, when they uses power. When they do not use power, then only 20%, I mean when there are 20 persons, then this Factory Act is applicable. When there is no power is used. Now, this Factory Act is established with the main intention of, look at here, with all these provisions. One is to provide safety to the work of an employee and guarding the machines. See, suppose when the employee is working in the machine, he must be protected with safety and safety measures, right? So the healthy and cleanliness, yes, of course, it is very much necessary for every organization to maintain healthy and cleanly environment. Next, drinking water. Of course, it is also very much necessary to be provided with the drinking water to an employee, and with maintaining a hygiene facility. The drinking water is very much important. for an organization, because the place of drinking water is for arrangement of the drinking water for an employee, which helps for sufficient they feel happy that the organizations are providing at least basic necessities. These are the very much basic necessities they have to provide. According to the act, we are discussing in detail about all these provisions. Lunch rooms and restrooms. Yes, it is also one of the basic needs the organization must have to provide. Washing and latrine facilities, sitting arrangements, first aid and dispensary facility in factory when there is a more than 500 workers, creatures when there are more than 50 women employees to take care of their child. So there must be a daycare facility like creche, welfare officers where there are more than 500 employee work, spittoon. Spittoon is also being set up by the organization. Holidays with wages at the rate of 1 day for every 20 days worked. Next, weekly hours of 48 for adults and 27 for young persons. Regulating regarding young persons, like less than the age of, like, child workers, we may say. So that must be regulated here. Next, rate of payment for overtime work, it has to be fixed. And rest for half an hour after maximum of 5 hours of work. When the employee work for more, at least 5 hours of work, he must be provided with the rest for half an hour. Otherwise, what happens, his mind may not be supported for continuous work. He may be sitting in front of in front of the work job, but his mind may not be supported for him to do it work. If he is given half an hour time or for rest, then after taking rest of half an hour, definitely he quickly do the work, whatever the work he was supposed to do for half an hour. He will take 2 hours if he is not given a rest. So then if he has been given a rest, then he will complete that 2 hours of work in a half an hour. So it is very much necessary. Next, number of hours of work, that is fixed according to the act. Next, weekly holiday for the workers. So these are the various provision covers. We will discuss in detail, so I'll just read that. Why? Because we are discussing in detail of that according to the section of Factory Act of 1948. Okay, now let us discuss what is this factory means. What is called as factory? What is factory according to the Factory Act of 1947? It defines that when there are more than 10 workers working in an organization for a period of previous 12 months, that means in an accounting year or in the previous 12 months, in any organization, as in the part of manufacturing process is being carried on with the use of power, then that is called as factory. I'll repeat once again. When there are more than 10 workers working in an organization in the period of previous 12 months, in a part of manufacturing process with the use of power, then it can be called as factory. And in case if there are more than 20 workers are working in the previous 12 months and as a part of manufacturing process which is been carried without the use of power, is also called as what? Factory. Is also called as factory. When it is not called as a factory, it is not called as a factory, but it is not applicable. It is not applicable to the operation of business, the mining business, according to the Mines Act of 1952. And mobile unit belongs to the armed force. It doesn't mean that the mobile phones belongs to the armed force. It mobile in the sense movement, that is moving hut kind of business. I'm sorry, the work, it is belongs to the armed force, because they will not stay at one place. They will be moving from one place to other place to protect us. They are protecting us, right? They will be moving from one place to other place. For them, this Factory Act is not applicable. A railway running shed or a hotel railway running shed. So when there is a in the railway department, when there are running in a shed or a hotel or a restaurant or eating place, for this, these are not considered as factory. Next, let us look into the other definitions, that is manufacturing process. According to the section 2 subsection K, they define what manufacturing process means. Look at here in the previous definition, which is said according to 2 subsection M. In both the definition, when there are more than 10 workers or when there are more than 20 workers, with the use of power, without the use of power, they said that it is as a part of manufacturing process, right? As a part of manufacturing process. Now let us understand what is this manufacturing process means. Manufacturing process means any process for making, that means producing, altering, any kind of alteration, any kind of repair work, ornamenting, finishing, packing, oiling, washing, cleaning, breaking up, demolishing, these, or otherwise treating or adopting any article or substances with the intention of using it or selling it or transporting it or for the purpose of delivery or disposal. This kind of activity is called as what? Or the process is called as manufacturing process. It also includes, look at all the points: pumping oil, water, sewage, or other substance, generating, transforming, or transmitting power. That is also when there is a generation of power generation, for the power generation activity process is also called as manufacturing process. And printing, for the printing press activity is also considered as a manufacturing process. Construction activity is also considered as a manufacturing process. Next, preserving or storing any article in the cold storage, that is also a manufacturing process. Sorry. Now, let us understand about the worker. What is the definition of worker? Who will be called as a worker here? Who is called as worker? The one who is working in an organization in a simple way, right? Yes, the person employed working in an organization with or without knowledge of the principal employer, in the sense whether the employer, because the employer in the large scale organization, the employer may not be knowing who are all working in an organization. He may not directly recruit the workers. There will be HR, right? That HR will recruit the worker. So there is a knowledge in the with or without the knowledge of the principal employer, if the worker has been employed in an organization either by directly or through the agency, because there are various employment agencies, through them also they can recruit the worker, whether for remuneration or not, whether he's working for a remuneration or not. Also, in any manufacturing process or in cleaning of any part of the machinery, it is not only comes for only the manufacturing process, for cleaning of any part of the machinery or premises used for a manufacturing process, or any kind of work incidental or connected with the manufacturing process is, or any kind of work which is subjected to the manufacturing process. We have come to know that, we had come to know that what is manufacturing process, right, in the previous slide. This manufacturing process means there are various activities are called as manufacturing process. In all that manufacturing process, if the employee or the worker, a person is employed to do all kind of activity, it can be not only the manufacturing process, it also includes the cleaning of the premises or the cleaning of the machinery included as a part of manufacturing process, or any kind of work which is connected with the manufacturing process, then the person who is employed for that work will be called as a worker according to the section 2 subsection L. Next, now let us discuss the very important chapter 3 of section 11 to 20 of the Factory Act of 1948. So let us discuss one by one. This is section from 11 to 20, which provides about the health of the workers. The provision regarding health of the workers are discussed from section 11 to 20. Let us discuss one by one. First one, cleanliness. Of course, every business organization factory must be maintained with cleanliness. The floor of every workroom should be cleaned at least once in a week. The inside wall or the partition or the ceilings must be repainted once in every 5 years. According to the act, it says once in every 5 years it must be repainted. Okay, and also the doors or the windows uh, must be kept painted. It is said according to the act for maintaining a healthy working environment. Next is disposal of waste and effluents. Of course, every factory, every day after the completion of the work, any wastage or any dangerous effluents must have to be removed from the place, and the provision must be created to the arrangement must be made to for the disposal of waste and effluents every day. Otherwise it creates it affects the health of the workers. Next is ventilation and temperature. Of course, adequate ventilation by the circulation of the fresh air is to be maintained, and also the minimum temperature must also be maintained in an organization. Minimum temperature must be there. Next is dust and fume, according as per section 14 of the Factory Act of 1948. Any kind of injurious dust or the fumes, if the employee inhale it, it will be affected to the health, right? So the accumulation of that dust or the injurious fumes is very dangerous, so that has to be make an arrangement to disposal of that. Next, artificial humidity, artificial humidification as per section 15. See here, when it is very much necessary, because in an organization, say for an example, in certain industries like cotton, textiles, cigarette industries, where this high degree of humidity is required to carry out the manufacturing process. So for this purpose, the humidity of the air must be artificially created, that either this increase or the decrease in the humidity, which adversely affect the health of the workers. So there is a necessity for creation of artificial humidity in an organization as per section 15. Next is overcrowd. Of course, overcrowding is also affects the workman, not only to discharge the duties but also their health. So as per section 16, it says that minimum working space must be maintained for minimum workers. So for every room, at least according to the act, it says as minimum of 14.2 cubic meters of work space must be maintained in order to have a healthy environment. Next is lighting. Yes, this is very much necessary, right? So they must have to create a ventilation to have a suitable lighting, sufficient lighting. It can be either natural or artificial or both. So it may not possible to have a not natural lighting always. So the artificial lighting arrangement must also be maintained in every part of the factory, in and outside in the surface of the factory. Next is thinking water. As I said, The effective arrangement must be made by an organization to provide the sufficient drinking water for an employees, as it is. These are all the basic needs. Next is latrine and urinals. Yes, for this also the organization must have to make an accommodation for having sufficient latrine and urinal facilities, and it must be cleanly maintained with good sanitary condition, and it must be adequately lighted, and also have should have good ventilation also. Next, spit-ons. This actually is applicable in the place where the employee uses tobacco. It is restricted, but still, if there is a habit for an employee that who uses the tobacco, so the spit-ons to spit, no, it is not allowed for any person to use it, and also to spit anywhere he wants. In order to maintain clean and hygiene environment in the organization, the spit tones must have to be established at the convenience place. It has to be established. Next, let us move to the next one. They, the according as per the Factory Act of 1948, it provides health, safety, and welfare measures of the employees. But time to time, even there is an amendment made for providing the benefits based on the suggestions from the appropriate stakeholders. So this, as per the amendment made to this act, where there is an increase in the minimum age of children eligibility from 12 to 14. Earlier it was 12, but now it is increased to 14. That is the minimum age of children for working in the factory. If the factory recruited or employed the worker below the age of 14 means, will be called as child labor, and it is offense also. And reducing the working hours for children from 5 to 4 and half, 5 to 4 and half. So here it is also suggested to have at least less half an hour less than the actual normal working hours. Next, also prohibiting children from working after 7 o'clock in the evening and before 6 o'clock in the morning. Next, explicit and special focus on safety, health, and welfare for all sort of workers must have to be taken care, and it is according to the amendment of Factory Act of 1948. And according to this amendment of 1948, let us discuss about the labor welfare measures which is taken this under this act. Labor welfare is nothing but the facilities provided to the workers inside and outside the factory premises, like canteen, rest, recreation facilities, housing, and other services that contribute to the well-being of the workers. It doesn't only consider the facilities provided to the workers inside the organization. Instead, it also suggests that the worker must also have to the employer must also have to look outside the factory, that whatever the facilities required by the labor, the workers, in terms of uh, canteen, the rest and recreation, housing, and other facilities required for well-being of the workers. And it in the early stages, actually in the early stages of industrialization, states that there was no consideration of workers, the factory workers, with so much of attention to provide the benefits, not only outside, even in the within organization also, they were not considered with so much of giving so much of attention for them. Now let us discuss what these labor welfare provision considered according to the Factory Act of 1948. It says The starts from 42 to 50. The section 42 to 50 provides the provisions for the workers relating to the welfare provisions, labor welfare provision. Let us discuss one by one. First one is washing facility. Washing facility. Washing for what? Is it for washing a cloth? The minimum basic, that is providing and also maintaining suitable facility for hand wash, etc. Right? In the working environment in the factory, and they must have to provide a separate washing, that is restroom or the washing room for the employees separately for men and women, and it must have has to be taken care with healthy and cleanliness, and it should be accessible to all kind of workers, not only for the permanent worker or the full-time workers. It should be accessible to all kind of even part-timers, temporary workers also. This is a basic necessities needed by all kind of workers. Next is facilities for storing and drying clothes. Storing and drying clothes. Actually, in the place of the factory where there is a necessity for storing the clothes for the workers, where there is a necessity for changing their uniform. There is a uniform where the employee has to wear the uniform when he enters the factory. For them it is very much necessary to store their own clothes which they have been used from when they come from home to the till the organization, when they change their dress in the organization after entering the factory. So the facility must be given, that means the provision must be created for storing the cloth of the worker. Well, when especially the place where uniform is compulsory, where they use working cloths. So this is very much necessary to provide the facilities for storing and drying the cloths. Next is facilities for sitting. As per Section 44 of Factory Act of 1948, first of all, it provides that it states that the suitable arrangement should be made for sitting for the workers. He must be given free time for taking rest if when he is working. There is no doubt that every employee is a human being, right? So employee is work, though there is a working hours fixed for 8 hours, he may cannot work from starts from morning to till evening without break, right? It is very difficult for any kind of employee to work continuously, regularly, without having a break, without holidays, right? So because the human power, it stands to limit, so by looking at this situation, every factory should make for sitting, make an arrangement for sitting of the workers. So it is may not be a temporary arrangement. The organization must have to make a permanent arrangement for making the arrangement for the facilities must have to be created for providing facility of taking rest for an employee, to an employee. Next is first aid appliance. First aid appliance, yes, everywhere it is very much necessary, right? Any injuries happen, then when there are minimum number of workers are working in an organization, this first aid box is very much necessary, right? In every organization, minimum of first aid box should have to be maintained, because injuries, it is inescapable part of our life actually for any kind of workers. Even though whoever may be with any cautious when they may work also, the injuries may happen in some cases, in some stages, either knowingly or unknowingly, right? So looking at that condition, The every factory should have to maintain proper first aid boxes at every workroom. They must have to maintain a proper first aid boxes at every workroom. And according to the act, it is said that the number of first aid boxes must not be less than one for every 100 workers. If there are more than 100 workers, then for every 100 workers, one first aid boxes must be maintained by an organization. If there are more than 100 workers, for each 100 workers, one first aid boxes should have to be maintained. In case the act also said that when there are more number of employees, that is when the number of employee exceeds 500, then the factory should arrange an ambulance room also with the availability of all necessary benefits. The ambulance room must also have to be established by an organization when there is more than 500 workers. Next is canteen. Section 46 of Factory Act of 1948 states that every in case if there are more than 250 workers working in the factory, every factory having more than 250 workers should maintain canteen for the workers. And for having a canteen also, the government provides some provisions for having a canteen in an organization, having good construction with good accommodation with furniture and the equipment required for canteen. And whatever the food served by the canteen should be very clean and hygiene. And managing of all this, the organization should have to have some kind of committee, the managing committee, to take care of this, to check frequently that whether the canteen is running with hygiene, cleanliness, and also providing a good food for the workers, etc., must have to be taken care according to the section 46 of Factory Act of 1948. Next is shelters, restroom, and lunchroom. Of course, when there is again more than 250 employees who are working in an organization, when there are more than 250 workers working in the factory, should construct a shelter like restroom and also lunchroom for the workers. It should allow the workers to eat the food not at the place of working only. So at least some changes must be there. They must have to sit in a peaceful the place called as lunchroom or the restroom, where they can have their lunch there happily, right? next Next is creatures, right? So according to section 48 of Factory Act of 1948, due to the problem of both men and women working, there there will be a very difficult for managing the kids when there are no take care, when there are no caretaker, right? So when there is a woman participation, woman working in the factory, having more than at least minimum 30 women workers are working in the organization. And for the kids, for the women workers having a kids below the age of 6 years, below the age of 6 years, should have a crèche facility, for which the factory must have to organize a special separate room for taking care of the kids, and also should allot one employee to take care of the kid. So all this facility must have to be maintained, and that room provided for taking care of the kid in the crèche should be properly lighted, ventilated, should have a clean and hygiene environment there. Okay. Next is welfare officers. Means every organization, when there are more than 500 workers, should have to employ a welfare officers to receive any compliments or complaints from the employee, from the workers or employees. So these are the labor welfare provisions according to the Factory Act of 1948. 2 minutes. Wait for a 2 minutes. I will continue further until the completion of this Factory Act. Just 2 minutes. Okay. Next, let us understand the safety provisions, the very important safety provisions according to the section 21 to 41 of the Factory Act of 1948. Shall I continue? Shall I continue further? If it is okay for you, I will continue further. Till I can only, this is the last slide, I can explain, and I can wind up after completion of the safety provision. Shall I continue? Can you please start in the box? Right, okay, thank you. Okay, this is the safety provisions according to the section 21 to 41 of the Factory Act of 1948. It provides the safety measures the organization must have to follow in order to protect the employee from any kind of dangers. So let us understand one by one what does this includes. First one is fencing machinery. According to the section 21 of the Factory Act of 1948, every dangerous machinery in a factory must be securely fenced in order to avoid the accidents. We all know, we might have even seen also, you might have been heard also, when the employee is working in a dangerous place, knowingly or unknowingly, uh, many accidents and injuries were happened, right? In order to avoid that accidents or injuries, it is necessary precautionary measures must be taken care by the organization to protect the employees from the endangered situation by having, that is, securely fencing the machinery in the factory. Next is work on or near machinery in motion. See, look at here. When the machinery is working, when the machine is under run, when it is when the machine is running, the precautionary measures should be taken care. The instruction should be given to all kind of exam. For the workers to be very careful when the machine is on, when the machine is under motion in the sense under movement. When there is a suppose when the machine is on. It is moving from this place to that place. It will, when it is working with movement, then it should be the precautionary measures by through instructions, awareness must be given to the employees to take care about the work with very precautions. Okay, and also it is to be directed to not to allow any woman or young person to that place. Next is employment of young persons on dangerous mission. Yes, of course, it is not allowed that the young person to work on the dangerous mission. It is allowed to work. This section 23 of Factory Act of 1948, it shall be allowed to work at any machine to which the young person has been fully instructed. Unless and otherwise he has been completely instructed and has created awareness about that dangerous machine, he should not be given a permission to work on that machine. It is very dangerous, right? So the life of any person, the human, is very precious. So every factory must respect the life of the human also, because there will be various dependents who are depending on them, whether can be men or women or children. So even children also, they are the younger generation, or they are the future generation of our country. They are the future asset of our country. So they are the future economy of our country. So no one life is neglected. Every business organization must have to take care of every person, including especially the younger generation, the children, without giving proper instruction for them, without giving sufficient training for them, without creating an awareness through an experience or knowledge. They must not be allowed to work on the dangerous machine. Next is striking weight and devices for cutting off power. See, for running the machinery in every organization, there will be one workroom is maintained, right? It will be provide the working room will be the workroom will be provided in every factory for cutting off the power in case of emergencies. So that must be maintained in every organization. It should be maintained for cutting off of the power. Suppose any incidents happened, so at least if the power is cut down, if it is off, then the avoidance of the accident in a larger way can be avoided, right? So that provision must have to be maintained in every organization. Next, self-acting machine. According to section 25, when the factory is having the self-acting machine, when in any factory, if that machine automatically it works without any requirement of the human being, or when no material is required to carry it, or carried to be carried or passed from one person to another, to the fab, I mean from the person to the machine. When it is automatic operated machine, self operated machine, in that situation it should be allowed to run by keeping the distance, because when it is automatic machine, no one will be having any control on it. It will be running automatically. It will, because it is a machine, right? When you have been given all the instructions in the machine, and if you put on it, then it will start keep on working, right? Until you off it, it will be keep on it working automatically. It will be doing its own work, right? So it must be instructed even for other workers who are working in the organization also, to be away from that or self automated or self acting machine, and that machine must be kept in a far distance from the other workers who are working in the other process. Okay. Next is prohibition of employment of women and children near cotton openers. So, in any part of the factory where there is a cotton opener is at work for pressing cotton, no woman or the child shall be employed there. Suppose where there must be an inspector in the particular place, where the woman and children employed in that situation, they have to be punished. Because when there is a cotton openers, that is when when there is a opening of boxes, it may in working in the organization where the opening of boxes, that is the cotton boxes, cotton openers, so it is one of the dangerous kind of work where it is necessary provision must have to be taken care by the organization relating to this, by not having women and child workers there. Next is hoist and lifts. Yes, Section 28 of Factory Act of 1948 shall direct to have a lift and also hoist. Should have every lift, if there is a lift in the organization, should be at working condition, and there must be good work, good mechanical workers should work for it. Regular maintenance should have to be checked. It should be properly maintained and should have protected from any kind of disasters. Okay, and it should be thoroughly examined by the concerned person regularly. Next is lifting machines, chains, rope, and lifting tackles. When there is a lifting of machine, or the chains or the rope and lifting tackles, in that situation, it is also very dangerous, right? So, for the purpose of when there is a movement of machine from one place to other place, every proper precautionary measures should have to be taken care with all kind of precautionary, including the working gear, whether it is fixed or movable, whether it is properly fitted to the with the sound strength, and if it is, they should check that it is free from the defect also, and it should be properly maintained. So all the workers who are having experience in lifting the machines or the chains should have to be considered, otherwise they must not have to be considered. They should keep away from this lifting the machinery. Next is revolving machinery. Revolving machinery, that is as per section 30 of the Factory Act of 1948, the process of grind, when there is a process of grinding is carried either on temporary basis or permanently, to the place where there is near to the machine, having maximum safe working speed, with the maximum safe working speed, that speed, like the machine, when there is a revolving moving, when the wheel is revolving, then the organization must have to be fixed that permanently. Because when there is a moving machine, what happens, it is very dangerous when there is a revolving machine, moving machine. It is not like revolving chair, moving from one place to another place by sitting on the chair. But when there is a revolving machine, it should be taken care that it is permanently fixed, not to move from one place to other place, right? If it is permanently fixed, then they can avoid the any kind of injuries. Next is pressure plant. Yes, as per section 31 of the Act, if any factory or any plant or machinery or any part thereof at a pressure with or above the atmospheric pressure, the effective measure shall be taken care to save that kind of stress, tension, or working pressures of such plant or machinery. So they should have to check that the plant or machinery, if it is working in very stress, with so much of work burden, so much of workload has been put it on the machinery. What happens after taking some load, it stops it, because its capacity, suppose its capacity is to run and take the load for minimum of load it can take. But over and above the minimum load, over and above the minimum hours it is keep on running, means the machinery will break down, right? In order to avoid that kind of accidents, this precautionary measures should be taken care to not to pressurize the plant or machinery. Next is flows, stays, and means of access. Of course, uh, any like according to the section 32 of Factory Act, and flows, stays, and also the means of access must be of sound construction. It shall be free from like obstructions causing person to sleep. When there is a at the time of construction, they must have to take care that for any for construction of the floors or construction of the stays or any kind of access, they must have to be taken care at the time of construction itself for the very well care. It must be very well planned at the time of construction itself, that the employee may not slip while he working. Next is its sum, according to section 33, pits, sums, opening in floors, etc. Right? It is also very dangerous. In a factory where every fixed vessels, sump, tank, pit, are opening the ground or the floor by any kind of reason, that must have to be closed. It is a kind of danger, right? It shall either securely covered, or it shall have to be fenced, and it should be taken care with the best care. It should be protected, right? Otherwise it leads to very dangerous problem. Next is excessive weight. Yes, as we discussed now in the uh, section 31, that is pressure plant, right? In the same manner here also, that is for the plant and machinery, but here for excessive weights, for carrying weights for the human, it can be the adult man or adult woman or any children or any employee who are working in an organization. At least minimum or maximum weight must be fixed. He may lift only that much of weight. For a 50 kgs of man, is it possible to lift 50 kgs of weight? For a 100 kg of person, is it possible to lift 100 kg of weight? Definitely it is not like that, right? So the minimum weights can be lifted based on the age, right? That must have to be fixed according to the section 34 of the Factory Act. Next is protection of eyes. According to the section 35 of Factory Act, it says that in any of the manufacturing process, where there is a risk of injury to the eyes from any dangerous work in the process of manufacturing, it must be taken care due to like excessive light, due to there is a reasons for exposure to the excessive light. Then in that situation, the organization must have to be taken care by providing goggles for them to protect their eyes. Precautionary measures, immediate precautionary measures must be taken care by the organization for protecting the eyes when there is a necessity to protect it, because eyes, all these are the sense of organs we say, right? So this sense of organs must be protected and taken care with the very much precautionary care. Next is Precautions against dangerous fumes and gases, right? So this dangerous gas, fume, vapor, or the dust must have to be disposed in time, on time, every regular time, right? So that precautionary fumes or the gases or the vapor or the dust, where there is, or in any kind of factory where it is likely to be present to some extent, and when there is a high risk to the person, unless there is a adequate proper measures are being taken by the organization, it should have to be properly, practically it should be measured, and practical or the precautionary measures must be taken by the organization, because it may affect their for breathing, right? It may leads to breathing problem of an employee due to this affluent gas or the fume, right? So this kind of, when it is a problem for breathing, definitely it is very dangerous. So this kind of precautionary measures must have to be taken care by the organization. And similarly, Section 37 provides that in any factory where there is a manufacturing process which produces dust or gas or any kind of fumes, in such character, in such a situation, where the organization must have to remove, or preventive measures must be taken for this accumulation of dust or gas, right? So this enclosures, the effective precautionary measures enclosures for the plant and machinery, like if the machine is producing the effluent air, that must have to be, the organization must have to use a long chimney to move that dust or the affluent air to the environment, when it, instead of making here unhealthy, creating the unhealthy environment in the organization. Next is precautions in case of fire. Yes, definitely the precaution must be taken care, right? Here, precaution in the sense, the organization must have to be given any instructions to the employees to how to escape from the place in case the event of fire happens. So for that, necessary equipment and facility must be given. So you might have been seen in the train, where there will be a provision always in any of the coaches, in every coach there is a in window, there is, the provision is made where he can stop the train with the red color mark the window, he having the provision for them. He can stop the train by tying that the measures which has been taken by the railway department in the train, and by opening that window, it can be open, it can escape from there, from that window. In every coach there will be windows, the precautionary windows, in order to escape from this kind of dangerous work has been provided. But even though there is a provision made by an organization, but it is not known, or it is not brought to the knowledge of the workers, what happens if all these are the precautionary measures taken by the organization, but if it is not brought to the notice of the workers, it is of waste. Whatever the investment which has been made for taking care of or providing the safety measures to the workers, if it is not brought to the notice of the workers, it is of waste, completely of waste, right? Why? Because here, without the employee or the worker who are working, he is knowing that there is an event of fire happening, but he don't know how to escape, where to escape, how to go out of this. But if he has been instructed earlier, if he has been created an awareness earlier, then he can escape easily by knowing about the situation, that how to escape from there. right? So for which the worker must be familiar to escape from that dangerous kind of situation. Next, section 39 provides about power to require specification of defective parts or test of stability, like um, a building or a part of building a dangerous to human life. There must be a furnishing of such drawings or the specification or any particulars in order to determine such building can be used with very safety. So like before construction of any building, there must be the plan must have to be checked. It must be according to the local authority, what the government has been stated, right? So the inspector who are been appointed in every factory should have to be taken the permission from the concerned authorities for carry out of this kind of any kind of test for drawing or any specification for determining such kind of buildings which can be used for safety. Next is safety officers. This section, which makes the provisions for the appointment of safety officers when there are more than 1,000 workers who are working in an organization. So, 2 minutes. When there are more than 1,000 workers who are working in an organization, they can have a safety officers to check or inspect any like occupier or the employer carrying any dangerous or hazardous nature of manufacturing process or not. There must be very much necessary in any organization. According to the Factory Act of 1948, section 40 provides that there must be safety officers to investigate whether is there any dangerous or hazardous nature of manufacturing process is been carried on by any employer. And lastly, it is power to make rules to supplement this chapter. Means still this section 41, which provides that the state government can make any rules in order to supplement this safety provisions. They can go with even including any other provisions in order to protect the employees in working in and working in the factory. Okay, so these are the various safety measures taken by to be taken by every employer, every factory, every occupier called as an employer in an organization. So this must have to be followed. If not, it is a punishable offense where they will impose fines and penalties. So this is about the Factory Act of 1948. It is one of the big act where it provides the provision relating to health, welfare, and safety provisions mainly. Health, welfare, and safety provisions. Now I'll wind up this session. Thank you for your patient listening. If you have any queries, you can chat in the chat box. Otherwise, I can wind up this session. Section 26 is actually eliminated according to the safety provision. So PPT tomorrow after completion of entire class, the entire PPT I will upload. Okay, tomorrow after completion of all the classes of labor legislation, I will upload it tomorrow. Financial management I will send it today now, and all the other, that is labor legislation, I will upload. Is there any other doubt relating to the labor legislation? No. Okay, thank you very much. I'll wind up the session. Thank you.